welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
Hello. Now, we're going to mix it up a little bit this week because of the ridiculous fucking crazy shit that's going on in the world right now. We kind of didn't feel like jumping into the click picture side of things, which tends to get a bit crazy and a bit irreverent and a bit silly. That's not to say we're not going to make jokes, but we just wanted to have the opportunity to, potentially go down the more just serious game design-y kind of stuff that we sometimes do, narrative stuff. I think we're going to start with some click pitch, keeping in mind, just the types of games that we're looking at. We may move into an adventure game design done quick, which is sort of where we stick with one point and click adventure idea for the length of the episode and just really dig into it. But only if the idea strikes us in the right way. So
yeah, we may have like adventure game design
done real quick,
done extra quick, and then another one, and however it works.
Yeah. So I think we will jump right in. 3, 2, 1, click.
Yup. Snapping anesthesia.
Fleshy unhappiness.
When you said fleshy, though, my mind went to the anthropomorphic houses for some reason. So, my mind's already gone off the rails.
I mean, that's an interesting world, though, that we have there, that we've used a couple times now, I think, on the flesh houses.
Mm-hmm.
Which, look, are definitely pretty ridiculous, but there's some things that could be explored there in a point-and-click adventure, if that was the way we wanted to go. We've got anesthesia, we've got unhappiness as well as fleshy, and look, I'm sure it's not fun being a house
renovated
flesh. Yeah, it's a flesh house going through a renovation. They have to put it under general anesthesia as they snap bones
/ foundations.
To put new doorways in place. That's gross. Or is this just like a Sims game with the flesh houses? I'm trying to remember what the actual game was when we originally came up with it. Was it actually building these houses, or was it just they were the backdrop for something? Oh, it was like a horror game or something.
No, I think it was a backdrop for a horror game.
It could just be a building game, but it's like a cross between a building game and a doctor game. Because you'd have to put anesthesia in the right places to put a section of this house to sleep before you graft new body parts onto it, essentially, because they want a fucking kitchen nook.
And then, of course, because you don't want rejection, then you got to go through, a whole heap of different antibiotics and...
Yeah, you've got a whole course of medications that come along.
And of course, sometimes you have to go to the garbage disposal, and you got to put the pill in, and then you got to massage its pipes to make sure it swallows them.
Oh, the body horror. Okay, I mean, what direction do we want to take this in? Because, I mean, it could be a point-and-click adventure game where you play a house surgeon.
Ooh, I do like that. It's like, as part of, your construction sort of group, you got your electrician that comes in, you got your plumber, you got your house surgeon, you've got your bone carpenter.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've kind of got all your different specialists who play their parts in renovating a flesh house. Well, which of those is the most interesting then, I guess, to play in that way? Are you the anesthesiologist?
Or is it sort of like one of those, I don't know, for a comparison's sake, like a hero shooter, Overwatch, where you get to choose your character at the start? you get to choose: are you the house surgeon? Are you the electrician / neurosurgeon? Where you?
I was going to say it's like nerves and neurons and things.
And then you got your plumber that deals with all the messy stuff.
Well, maybe or maybe this is a Maniac Mansion style thing where you've got your team.
Yeah.
And you switch between them for different tasks around as you click around through this world and have to solve the puzzles. I feel like you also need like a house therapist to bring them through this traumatic time.
Especially if the house is scared.
Well, exactly. And why wouldn't you be when someone's forcing surgery onto you effectively?
Oh, I'm imagining you got the different sort of houses out there. You've got sort of like the 3-bedroom flat who's never been renovated before, who's really, really nervous about this whole thing. But then you've got like the mansion who's like one of those, trashy white women who have like all the all the surgery, cosmetic surgery, and
well, they're just basically they're really into like body modification, as well. Okay, I like the idea of exploring the personalities of these different houses.
Oh, so you got the house whisperer?
Yeah, well, they're basically a house psychologist, and because I don't think the houses can the houses speak, or is it more like?
I think we decided they can't speak, but they can.
They're more like an animal, right?
They do have a brain. They've got, you can tell when they're scared. You can tell.
Well, because I think they're also trained to like act as a smart house. I think was the idea. Like they're basically. They can do all sorts of things.
They're literally a house pet.
So there are a lot of interesting things we could get into here around slavery, forced, body modification. It's an interesting topic in a weird cyberpunky way. I think to give a bit of backstory, because I'm not sure we sort of gave the full idea. The original idea was that in this world or in the future, for whatever reason, a company has created these creatures which they basically, like you would grow a tree bound to a certain shape and it grows into that shape, they basically grow these living beings into a house shape. I can't remember why. Other than maybe it was because they were smart houses. I don't recall. But there's some benefit to it. Or they're self-healing. I mean, like, there are a lot of benefits.
And then, like, different sections of the house were like the brain, the heart of the house, and the bowels of the house, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And look, we don't have to build necessarily entirely on top of the canon of our previous idea, of our previous game. We can kind of just take the general idea of these flesh houses. So, I like the idea of the team, the renovation team, basically. The different house personalities.
Yep.
So is this like a neighborhood? Is this set in a neighborhood where you are kind of, you get to go around to the different houses, and one particular house is about to basically undergo a big renovation. And so as part of that, you're in the neighborhood as the team, and you've got, I guess, the puzzles just come around, whatever gets in the way of this renovation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can actually go down sort of the point of view that maybe the family that live in this house are not exactly the nicest people. Like, they've actually got some secrets. Like,
house abuse.
They don't want you to go down to the basement and all this sort of stuff, and you're always wondering why. And yes, they've got a dog house off to the side, but it's it seems a little sickly.
What's the doghouse? That's flesh as well, I assume.
It's flesh as well. It's.
Oh my god! What happens when a family does a house modification that they weren't supposed to do, like an illegal addition to the house? They're basically just like forcing this being into creating things without any of the precautions. It's
that's what you could actually be looking at. That's what you could actually be looking at in the basement. Like, they've actually done these modifications to the house, like the foundations of the house, sort of thing. That is why the house is sort of like attacking
they built a wine cellar.
Yeah.
Where they dug into the foundation, which is effectively someone drilling into, like,
giving the house a lobotomy.
Yeah. Or at least, something that's really caused trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I think we need to, as part of this game, like, definitely the beginning, the status quo is that these houses are everywhere and, like, they've become the new thing, but I think you go...
I'm imagining it's set on an alien planet, because it's so much easier to explain that this is just the norm for the planet.
Well, either that or it's a tech thing. Like, it's, the same way they grow meat for eating, they're growing these beings for... And I think that's where we came from originally. And because then I like the idea... Because then there's all the ethical stuff around it that I think we could bring up through the course of the game, where this team, or at least part of the team... starts to really question, based on the horrific things they see done to this house, really starts to question their profession and the idea of flesh houses as a whole. We should probably... I think I don't think the marketing team for this company calls them flesh houses. That's probably too on the nose.
No, they call them flouses.
I think they'd come up with a nice, like, happy house or something, like
come on,
house,
home to your
house
smart home.
House is humankind's best friend. It's not dogs anymore. Or house pets or something, right? Like you said. Oh yes, even just smart homes makes sense. They've co-opted the term smart home into being a literal home with a brain.
Has a brain. Yep. Okay, so I'm picturing the ending of this particular house renovation is they break into the cellar sort of thing, and they find out the wine cellar's being built into like the nerve center of the house, which is why the house is being like not reacting to anything that's sort of
having behavioral problems, perhaps.
Yep. Then, with consent from the house, they actually reconnect some of the wires.
Yep.
And then they sort of allow the house to wreak vengeance on the family.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Where does this end? Like, are these big stakes where they kind of manage to make huge changes to the entire, like, flesh house industry and pull it down? Or is this lower stakes where it's, this particular flesh house gets to, kind of get some closure and then they move on to the next renovation?
Because what I like is that this team are working on a few different houses at once. So you get to sort of get the feeling of they go in, the House Whisperer can actually sort of almost mind meld with the house. And I like the idea that he can have like a conversation about the house and alleviate their fears.
And it's either that or it's a tech thing where it is essentially a mind meld, but it's like, okay, connects these neurons, so like what do you call them? Things that go on your... What are they called? The little... When you're connecting up to your electrodes. Puts electrodes, like, key, the appropriate place on the house, and then
into a dongle. That just plugs into like a USB slot.
Then there's just like a little USB slot on his laptop. And he can kind of analyze the mind of the house and get some answers from it. Almost, let's call it a fleshy matrix. Like, how people could read the Matrix when they'd looked at it long enough and they could see like what it actually meant? It's kind of like that. To everyone else who looks at it, it's just like weird shades and colors and blotches and maybe the occasional kind of image that comes through, but to the House Whisperer, they understand it and can even then communicate back in some ways by like putting particular electrical signals back through the electrodes or something.
Yeah, which is effectively, it's not harmful at all. I'm picturing that this House Whisperer is very much on the side of houses.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And look, I think even maybe this is the first team that has a House Whisperer or something, or it's at least it's a new addition to to renovations because they were starting to get all these renovations that were being rejected or going wrong or malfunctioning.
And I'm imagining that there's just a little vignette of what happened to the last person, and they walk inside the house and everything's just red, like somehow completely exploded the people that were in there.
Or just like digested them or something. Like stomach acid started leaking from the ceiling. And I think through that you start to realize, and that's really where the convictions of at least this character, if not the whole team, start firming up of realizing, oh shit, like we've been abusing these creatures and this is really not right and completely unethical.
Yeah.
And then, again, we'd need to decide how big the actual stakes are for the ending. Like, is this then we're going to take it to the top and tear this whole thing down, or it's, well, the least we can do is like help out this one house and then, try to alert the authorities in some way.
I think if you've got the other houses sort of in this sort of conversation as well, in the fact that, you're talking to another house who's gone through lots of renovations before. I kind of like the idea that this other house is sort of talking the house whisperer through it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
Because then you've got that sort of thing of the houses understand that, they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for people being needing a place to live. They love the fact that they've got a life. They just want to be treated and asked.
Them do. Look, I think again, there's so many. This is a really tricky topic for us to tackle in general, but I think it's interesting enough that it's worth it because yes, I think that for the majority there would be sort of a Stockholm syndrome-ish sort of thing where they have to accept their lot, and to the point that they convince themselves that they enjoy it. And again, I don't know that they're necessarily like fully intelligent, right? I don't think they're like human level intelligence. I think they are more sort of pet like, but maybe like ape intelligence, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, like chimpanzee intelligence. Like they're definitely intelligent enough that they understand things that go on in the world, and can communicate that to a certain degree. They just maybe can't reason about it at a full, fully, human level, which I think just makes it even more difficult in a way because, I mean, my point is that I kind of want to make it less of an allegory for like human slavery, and more of an allegory for like animal abuse in a way, or like animal testing, or animal domestication sort of thing. I think that actually that's probably a good way, is that most of these houses act like domesticated animals.
Yeah.
It's just that, you come in and find that a lot of them have been abused in these ways because people have dug wine cellars into their fucking neural pathways.
So what I'm imagining is, when you finally, reconnect this house and the house sort of becomes somewhat a little bit more sentient than what they were, maybe the house just uproots and leaves.
I definitely had a vision of these like herd of houses just running across the plains at the end. I don't know we should go that far or not. And again, because I don't know how realistic it is that these houses at this point can even, ambulate. But there could be an aspect of that. There could be an aspect of this, instead of renovating this house in the way that the humans wanted them to, they renovated it in a way that gives them like legs, like the ability to move, and maybe removes their foundation that attaches them to the ground. And
maybe that's when you realize that, this renovation team is actually not necessarily a renovation team, but they're actually like a release team, like sort of thing.
Activists.
They're activists coming in trying to give the houses agency to leave if they want to.
Well, I think I like the idea of them becoming that across the course of the game. Even I think having them start as the renovation team is a good place to start. And I was kind of thinking that like the first scene or set of scenes is even like finishing up the previous renovation. In some way,
and it's that mansion
successful,
it's that mansion who just wanted a greenhouse on the side.
Yeah, and it was done right, and yeah, they grafted it on, and look, there is obviously these elements of body horror in this, but we could make it to the point that these things have been bred to the level where it's not necessarily, it's not like me attaching a greenhouse to the side of your head.
No.
Right? It's more like me giving you a tattoo or something, or or to the more extreme level, someone who like gets their tongue slit, or just like large gauges in your ear, in your ear hole.
They're doorways.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what you're doing is like, maybe that's how they have to make the doorways is like
gradually gauge it over. They start off with like a tiny little mouse hole that they just, gradually...
They have to shape it and shape it.
Shape it, and then it becomes like the doorway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
They have to like... they like injecting cartilage or something for like hard edges and things. I don't know, like a sort of thing. How much are they growing this versus kind of building it and inserting things in that way?
This has really taken a bad turn.
I don't know. I think it's interesting to just dig more into this whole idea. Let's run through the arc of it.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I think we've got most of it anyway. We won't go scene by scene like we might usually do on a full adventure game.
Prologue.
So your prologue and your setup is
finishing up the greenhouse.
Finishing up the greenhouse on this big mansion on the hill.
House Whisperer is talking to like the electrician, saying what a great job they've done. The house seems really, really happy with the modification.
Yep.
Can feel the sun hitting the glass and all this sort of stuff. And
that's good. You get this like nice stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's helping it out. You talk about all the connections starting to work and build and grow inside, and you give some exposition of, perhaps I think you want a little bit of conflict on the team, but I think the neurologist / electrician is probably pretty pleased to have the House Whisperer there and know that like now they know the work they're doing is good in that way. Yep. Like, they're a skilled team and they've been doing this a long time, but this new kind of initiative to bring these House Whisperers in. And they, I'm imagining that they're sort of cleaning up, the last few things that, cauterizing the last bleeds and...
Yeah, and sort of having a bit of a chat and having to quickly plug that last bleed.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of puzzle, and then
that's the puzzle. Yeah.
And then they talk to the family about this is the course of antibiotics that you need to be given the house every day, and you can't be going and slamming doors and all this sort of stuff. Like
yeah, they're going to be tender for a while.
Just imagine that we put like we put a door inside your stomach. How tender would you actually be?
Yeah, I like that. That's good. And so then I think you've got some scenes where you like,
because that's giving you the idea that later on you can actually come back when there's an issue with this particular house who really was feeling really good when you last left,
but something happens. Yeah,
because the family have been neglecting the antibiotics or something like that. Like they get an infection and start rejecting the greenhouse.
Yeah, that's a good way to address the sort of general. Like this family didn't necessarily mean to. They did the right thing. They got the licensed professionals in to do a proper modification, but yeah, they failed to kind of run the full course of antibiotics and really treat their house properly. So it was just a bit of neglect there, and that can happen, and that's something that has to be dealt with. But then you sort of get introduced to this next job. And I wonder, is this a new renovation that they're calling you in for, or is it a fixed job where things are going wrong? Or a bit of both. Is it like a pre-inspection before they want a proper renovation?
I think this is a pre-inspection of something that, like, another team have already come in and done. Maybe someone's just bought this house. Oh, okay, yeah.
And so it's like a situation where you buy a new house and then you find out, like, all the wiring's fucked and, like, the heater doesn't work. Like my house. When we bought it. But yeah, you come in and they're like, yeah, like, this place looked great when we bought it, but
they said it was a 5-bedroom. It's really only a 4 and, like, an entryway.
Exactly. Can't really get under it very well. No, but, like, since we moved in, the house is coughing a lot. I thought it was just settling, but no, it's definitely, like, there's
definitely a
mucus. There's been mucus, pooling in the
bathroom,
in the bathtub. And the wine cellar is filling with pus. Like, I just don't know what to do. And they're like, wine cellar, like, okay, show me the wine cellar. Basically, that's maybe the first thing they suspect, and they go there, and it's just it's this, like, gross, infected. I can see. So for a little behind the scenes, we're doing video, which we don't usually do, and I can just see Trevor reacting to my description. So I apologize, and we should probably put a content warning on this episode. Now, I apologize to those listening at home who are having that same facial reaction that Trevor just gave me. Anyway, they obviously find that some unlicensed, dangerous, unethical renovations have been done to this house. The house whisperer, like, hooks up their electrodes, and basically, like, the house just screams.
It's just constantly screaming.
Yeah. It's like, this thing doesn't even do sound. How is this happening?
And in fact, when we turn it off, that's what that background noise was the whole time.
Oh, yeah. It's just the actual house. It's not even through the electrodes. And then, I think the rest of the game is kind of like, I mean, just for one, discovering how to fix it, to help
doing
this house.
General repairs first, and sort of having to go through and do it in a sort of logical order, in the fact that, if you neglect the wine cellar, then, anything else that you do is going to get incredibly
well. And I think just from the puzzle point of view, it's sort of there are aspects of, like, diagnosis, and then you need to, like, find certain inventory items or whatever to resolve it. I don't know, it'd be tricky to write the puzzles for this from a narrative point of view rather than creating systems. At this point, we sort of get to the point where it's like, oh, this would make a good sort of systems thing, but we don't need to come up with that now anyway, so it's fine. No. They deal with it. And at the same time, I think they're sort of dealing with, like, or figuring out the legal stuff, and how do we, like, report this to authorities, and how could this be allowed to happen, and really realizing that these houses are being abused in so many cases, and the extent of it, and maybe they hear stories and start getting stories of other houses that have had to be put down. What happens when you put down a fucking living house? Can people still live in it? That's really fucking dark.
I think it's sort of like, the ending of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where basically,
anyway,
Nurse Ratched, basically Jack Nicholson gets a lobotomy, and literally is just staring out the window at the end, sort of. He's there, but he's not. Like, you can see all semblance of the character is completely gone. I think that's what happens when a house gets a lobotomy.
I totally just had an image of, like, people squatting in a dead house, and it's just rotting. Because what else are they going to... I guess they burn it. Maybe they cremate it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this idea is very disturbing, interesting ethical implications. I like it a lot, but let's not talk about it anymore.
3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. Luminary Exasperation.
I've got Royal Turn.
Okay. So, My first thought around Luminary was that you play something that emits light. And so my mind went in a few different directions. Some sort of like supernatural, you are like a fairy, like a fae creature or something, like some sort of little flitty, fairy. Or you're some sort of solar body, like extra, like space, like you're a star or a comet or you're some sort of story between like solar bodies.
You know what's just come into my head, what I kind of like the idea of, is in my room when I was a kid, I used to have on the ceiling the glow-in-the-dark stickers.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I'm
Very
picturing
common.
that you're an anthropomorphic glow-in-the-dark sticker. So
okay.
In order to, or you're a being that is somewhat glow-in-the-dark. So you can charge up by being in the light. And then as you're going through like darkness, you can see only a little bit around you because of the glow, but of course that gradually goes down and goes down and goes down and goes down, and then you've got to get back into light to sort of charge it up again.
That's definitely an interesting mechanic.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been moving away from point and click, but that's fine if we come up with something that works here. So, sorry, what was your
royal turn?
Okay, so I like the idea of a game set on the ceiling and walls of a kid's bedroom.
Yep.
In that it's 2D gameplay for the most part, but you show it on this 3D on this 2D surface of a 3D space, and when you get to the edge, you can like flip down to the wall kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then creating a whole sort of, monarchy, right? Like a kingdom.
Yeah.
That lives as these glow in the dark. Well, or maybe not just the glow in the dark, but maybe the glow in the dark stars and things are the royalty or something. Like there's something around the things that are stuck on this kid's wall and ceiling are the denizens of this kingdom.
So now I'm sort of picturing something like around the prince and the pauper, in the fact that the prince, doesn't want to be stuck on the roof anymore, and he finds like another star that looks exactly like him, and they switch places. But of course, this other star isn't necessarily glow in the dark, but I kind of like the idea of that.
Well, I very much like the idea that the reason the glow in the dark stars are royalty is because they're on the ceiling and up high and above everyone.
Yeah.
And so he wants to explore
the bedroom.
The amazing posters that this kid sticks on the wall, the things he leaves on the floor, like what's behind the bed. Let's stick with a preteen so we don't have to deal with what's behind the bed of a teenager. But yeah, I like that. And so I'm kind of picturing this as a bit of a platformer, but almost a bit of a like Inside, or what was the precursor to that? Limbo. Yeah, like a bit like that kind of vibe, where it's a platformer and you may be having to like solve puzzles to get around, but there's a real narrative structure to it.
Yeah, I
as you go
like
through
the
these
idea
different
that
areas.
It's literally in this one room.
Yeah.
But basically you start off at sort of like the roof, and then, you're talking to all the stickers up there, and you sort of head down the wall and you find another sticker that's sort of...
Well, that's it.
down.
Yeah, I think you've got... Yeah, exactly that. I think the things that make up this kingdom are stickers, the glow-in-the-dark stars and moons and things, posters on the walls, the kids' drawings themselves. Yep. And then maybe you can talk to things that are that are actually 3D and in the world.
So when I was a kid, my door was covered in stickers.
Yep.
Like any sticker that I had, I just chuck on the door.
Yep.
And when I look at my son now, he's doing the exact same thing that I did when I was a kid. He's starting to stick stickers on his wall and
nice,
all over his door. And like, we came in one day, after, you know, we'd put up this photo board that we did for his like first birthday.
Mm-hmm.
We did it obviously for his first birthday, but around his 7th birthday, he found it and decided to put it up on his wall because he liked seeing all the photos of him when he was young.
Yeah,
we come in there and there's all these Paw Patrol stickers stuck all the way around the outside, making this perfect pattern. And it's like,
yeah,
I could just imagine, you know, seeing these photos on the wall that you're talking to the actual kid that actually, you know, runs in this, that is actually in this bedroom, but the photo itself is sort of.
Oh, I see. Like you're talking to the photo of the kid?
Yep.
Yeah, I like
Kinda
that.
like in
Talking
Harry
to them
Potter.
at different ages. Yeah, I'm picturing very Harry Potter-esque sort of things like that where, and even things like, oh, you find like behind the desk an area where the kid drew on the wall like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And hid it from the parents or something. But that's just now a citizen of the kingdom. And it's this kind of weird little like pen drawing.
What could be really kind of cool is, the picture of the baby that's been there the longest is actually the smartest of the photos.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because they're the oldest.
Yeah, they're the oldest that are there. And it's kind of like this weird thing of this baby who's like the wise man sort of thing in the photo.
Like, that's funny. I like that, yeah.
Kind of that juxtaposition of you know, they look for the oldest photo, but where the kid like looks the oldest.
Baby talk.
And
it starts crying. And then, yeah, this baby version comes over and is like, oh, it's okay. Like, they're there. You know.
This real deep James Earl Jones voice.
Totally. Like, you know, he hasn't been here very long. Look how new this photo is. This last week. Whereas I've been here for 11 years.
I can still touch this thing and the ink was still smudge.
Yeah, so that's cool. So I like that idea. I feel like you play the star. Do you make it anthropomorphic in the sense of, does it like grow arms and legs and get a face as it walks around, or do you keep it more simple where it's kind of an actual just star-shaped thing glowing and bouncing around?
Yeah, because of the slidiness of it, I do kind of like the idea of having some basic like arms and legs that sort of come out, that, or it's kind of like Rayman in the fact that, you know, there's floating hands and that sort of stuff that can actually,
just to give it sort of that personality, or even just even if you didn't have arms and legs, even just like a face or eyes or whatever that kind of sat atop it. I want to see someone make this in a really like realistic style, though. I feel like doing this so it actually looks like a sticker on the wall would be really cool. And, you know, if you get the right sort of depth of field on the camera and that sort of thing, so you can it really looks like you're looking at these little things on a wall.
So I'm imagining the sort of enemies that you're going to be coming up against in the different areas are going to be like bugs and spiders on the wall. You're going to be coming across
like monsters that the kids drawn, perhaps. Like it could be
monsters. There could be like mold. From like a moldy sandwich underneath the bed or something like that. I know. I kind of like the idea of going into like the dark CD behind the desk, and that's where.
Oh yeah, you've got like, you know, a pen topper that like fell down there 3 years ago and has been stuck there ever since, and is like super depressed and dark. Yeah, exactly, an ushi or whatever. Because I think I do like the idea of not just having to stick to things that are stuck to the wall, but if something's close to the wall, like you can have a conversation with it.
Yeah.
And like you said, like bugs and things or whatever, you know, they're not necessarily part of that sort of same thing, but they can interact with you. It's just you yourself can't hop off the wall.
Yeah.
Unless there's a moment later on where you lose your stick or someone like pries you off the wall.
Well, I'm thinking if you go through the mold, like that is built into the wall sort of thing, you know, the rising damp or whatever, then you lose your stickiness until you find like glue tack. Well,
or you just make it that's like an end, a lose scenario of you falling off the wall. You like fall off the wall and float down, and you're dead. That's it.
Yeah. So, do we actually make it that when you finally go through your whole thing, you're going on a bit of a journey, and you go to come back, and the pauper sticker that you've sort of swapped roles with decide that no, they don't actually. They don't want to swap back. They don't want to give up the joys that the height.
Yeah, look, that comes down to the story where we've mostly been talking about the mechanics and sort of the characters, but I do like the idea that I think this pauper as such is like a star that the kids cut out of paper and put up there, or something like that, or who has come from a poster of like a Starry Night or whatever that the kid has created and made its way up to the ceiling. Like maybe he put it close to the ceiling or something. And because I'm trying to think of what gives the actual prince this opportunity to talk with this thing and figure out this deal.
You know what I'm picturing this as now? Like you can go anywhere you like on the wall. It's not like a platformy sort of game. It's more like a Zelda-y sort of game. In the fact that you can walk across the plains, you can sort of go underneath the windowsill, going across to this area over here, the Darklands underneath the bed.
Well, maybe a bit more of like a Metroidvania-ish, or a Zelda thing where until you get the blue tack, you can't go over the rising damp or whatever, right? Like
and until you manage to actually knock the broom handle out of the way, you can't actually pass this area because, it's right up against the...
Or like you need to somehow close the door so that you can get across the door itself to get to the other side of the door frame.
Yeah, because of the mold that's up above the...
there's, for whatever reason, there's something blocking what's above the door frame, and so you have to go across the door itself.
It's a really nasty poster.
It's pornography got left there by his older sibling.
But yeah, I kind of like the idea of, you go under the bed and that's a dungeon sort of thing, and you're going through this whole area. It sort of feels like there's only one way down into this area because, maybe the the bedspread is actually up against the wall in this particular area and all this sort of stuff. So
I definitely like the idea of basically having to like solve puzzles, or in the very Zelda or Metroidvania way, like get a particular tool that lets you then move things or break through these barriers that open up the world a bit more and let you get to these other places.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And just the visual side of this really appeals to me because that whole sort of 2D gameplay on the 3D wall is really cool, and I love the idea that maybe you get to a point where you can like look around the room and see all the different areas, or maybe that's just the map view. Maybe when you go to the map view, it just kind of pulls back, or like you can rotate it around from the center of the room and just see this really nicely rendered kid's bedroom with these different highlighted sections.
Yeah, and I think, the final kingdom that you sort of go up against is, in sort of up on the roof, up in the corner, there's like a cult of older glow in the dark stickers that are sort of
they've all lost their glow.
Yep.
Yeah. And they like worship the fucking spider that lives there or something. Yeah, something like that.
I'm imagining that, every night, as they're asleep and glowing in the dark and all this sort of stuff, like they'll wake up and they're sort of like, one of them is no longer there, sort of disappeared, being picked off, and it turns out that it's this giant huntsman on the roof that actually
comes out and
grabs them. Just with its sticky hands.
It gets stuck to it.
It gets stuck to the bottom. So I'm imagining that you actually see this spider that has these 8 glow in the dark stickers on their
stickers. That's really funny. Yeah, look, I think that's actually a really rich world for coming up with just a cool, set of characters and an adventuring space. I think the minute-to-minute gameplay, it could be a variety of things, whether it is just sort of straight platforming in a sense, or, more just sort of puzzle solving, where it's just push something, move something. Or
hide
again,
because the
using
kid's coming.
well, or using your luminosity where it's like, okay, go into the, the light of the lamp for a while, and then you've got to be quick to, like, get through a dark area or something because you're the only source of light or something like that. Lead something through there or...
Yeah,
use that light, that phosphorus power of yours to help someone.
Yeah, I'm definitely imagining, the amount of dust and stuff behind desks and behind, under the bed is going to be horrible. I'm just imagining like this huge dust bunny that is like the king of under the bed and and all this sort of stuff.
Yes. Well, that's it. Each area can have these different sets of characters. Like, under the bed is like the dust bunnies and like a lost shoe and a texter that's run out of ink, that's dried up because its lid didn't get got left off. And then, up in the corner, you've got the cult that worships the huntsman because it's fucking got stars all over it. And, as you go across the top of the desk, you've got, all the pencils and things like the stuff that's actually on the desk that when they're close to the wall, you can talk to them and, they're all fucking uppity because they get taken to school or whatever. Like, there's all sorts of cool.
Then you got the bookshelf that has all the like different characters from the totally fake fictional books that you can.
Yes. Well, or just like he's got all these like figures or something. Or like the stickers or whatever. He's got all the stickers of the, preteen, radiated, samurai fish. I don't know. Whatever.
I just realised what you were doing, where you were going with
what
that.
I was going for.
But it's fish spelt Ghoti.
yeah. Just because kids think that's hilarious. And so they become a whole thing. You either help them out or you fight them or you have to get past them or whatever. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with that. You were talking about the dusty areas though, and again, my mind went to the visuals because I can just picture you're basically creating this world with where this star sticker is just like sliding across the wall, and you could have it like knocking the dust off and leaving paths through the dust, and like how fucking good would that look?
It would. You'd know exactly where you've been before.
You can do it. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You can in the dusty areas at least, and that could even be a mechanic where it's like. You're having to get through almost a maze of dark areas in this dusty behind the desk, and one of the tools we give you is you're leaving trails in the dust. That's so cool.
Yeah, awesome. I reckon we've got to click one more time and then
yeah. I'm enjoying this, like going a bit deeper onto some of these ideas though. 3, 2, 1, click. Prepaid premiere.
Fascinated fake.
Oh, okay. So I did feel like this had some good point and click fodder because premiere made me think of like a movie premiere or something, red carpet, like that sort of situation. And so fake kind of plays into that because there's obviously this whole celebrity culture and different things there. What was your other word?
Fascinated.
Yeah, okay. I mean, both of those kind of play into the celebrity culture. And then prepaid, I was almost thinking like, is this someone with a prepaid phone, like they're robbing the place or they're trying to like, they're grifting in some way or
is this one of those situations where the actor was too ashamed to actually go to the premiere and so they sent like a fake a celebrity
like
lookalike.
Is that who you play?
You play the celebrity lookalike, and all these people are fascinated about your story and all the stuff happening in the movie, and of course you've never seen it before, so you got to go through the red carpet and talk about all that stuff.
Well, look, I like the idea of that being okay. We could take it a couple of different ways. If we wanted to just make it a short point and click adventure game, like one that could actually be doable by 2 people if we ever wanted to make something, just doing that section of it.
Come on, we make stuff, we just don't finish it.
That section of it could be really cool. It's like, okay, you've been hired as this celebrity lookalike. The new movie's coming out. It's trash. He didn't want to come along. So, but like the studio couldn't have that. But he's a fucking diva, so they've hired you to basically fake it.
Yep.
And then, so it's sort of prepping for it in some sense. The red carpet, the like after party, and that's like those are your scenes almost. That's cool. I like that. Very probably heavily dialogue based. You'd have a few inventory puzzles in there.
Yeah.
Maybe the prep is okay. I like the idea that before you head out on the red carpet, like there's some news alert that. Or you see some magazine where it's like they've changed their look or they've like had plastic surgery or they've got a new fucking tattoo or something and you have to quickly change, like last minute change to your costume or your look or something so that you match it. And those are sort of your puzzles leading up to the red carpet. And that could be talking to, you know, the PAs or other people involved in the movie or your own partner or like different, you know, the date that you brought or whatever.
Yep. I'm imagining that your date is like another lookalike of the celebrity wife.
Or just like the lookalike for some like music star or something, you know, it's like some music pop idol or something. Is this a fucking like Tom Cruise Scientology situation where, you know, they've hired someone to be your date because they want to put out a particular vibe for this actor?
I just love the idea that it turns out that nearly every single person who's at this premiere is literally has been phoned in.
Yeah, you just keep talking to these people and they're like, sorry man, I wasn't in the movie either.
You talk to the reporters and they go, we didn't want to cover this, so they sent us out here. They're paying me $5 to be here.
It's not so the reporters aren't even there. It's supposed to be this whole dog and pony show that nothing's going to come of it because nobody actually wants to cover it, but they all felt like they had to do something to be there. That's kind of funny, or at least you find some people. Like, I don't know if your date is that, but maybe you come across a reporter where it's like, I don't know, I'm just an intern. This microphone's not even turned on. It's not hooked up to anything. Like, he picks it up and there's a fucking dangling cable.
I'm imagining that every time that you say something wrong, the producer comes over and goes, "What did you say?"
Yeah. Well, actually, so this is a complete pivot on the general gameplay because we were sort of talking point and click, but the world that we often go to is Papers, Please. I kind of like this idea that as you're learning more and more things, you have to like remember more and more things as you're going. You have to remember more and more things about the movie and the cast and the circumstances, and when people ask you, you have to like get it right or correct them, or I don't know. I think the point and click is better, but that just gave me that idea of going down that path.
Yeah, I do quite like the idea of the Papers, Please, that you have to sort of remember. These are the things that you've talked about in the past. These are the things that you're now allowed to talk about because
right, spoilers or yeah, or like as the movie like that's almost a different game. It's like during the course of a movie you're doing press at different times and it's like things you are and aren't allowed to talk about or things that have changed in the production, or it's like, no, we cut that storyline out, like you can't talk about that anymore.
This person has seen cut 1. This person has seen cut 3. So you need to remember that in cut 1,
right,
you had a naked sex scene with this person. In 2, it was a solo scene. In cut 3,
a solo sex scene.
Yeah, it was a solo masturbation session.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of good. Or just like, you know, you get closer to the end and it's like, the third biggest star in the film said something racist. They've been cancelled. We can't like talk about them anymore.
So we've recut everything just by
we've taken them out of the
We've taken them out of the film, but where we couldn't, we just redubbed them by with some other guy
with a sound alike. Yeah. I definitely think those are basically two different games, but that's really cool. But no, I think back to the point, Click, like, yeah, I like that idea of having to prep like that, and then the red carpet. I mean, the red carpet could almost be sort of a mini version of that in a way, where it's not over time, but it's just like, as you go, you maybe have to remember things you've told the previous ones or something to, like, keep your story straight, or because, like, you haven't seen this movie, right? Or maybe
Which you haven't.
Or maybe it's that as you get, like, as the producer corrects you, or as you say things to the reporters, like, yeah, you have to just remember as you go or something, I don't know, to get through that scene. You wouldn't want to go too in depth with it, because then what are the stakes of failing necessarily each time? It's more just get through it and have to remember the things.
I kind of like the idea of, you know, you're talking about how outlandish this whole thing is, and then when you get to the after party, they go, oh my god, I think you gave too much away, because all this stuff happened in the film.
Right. Actually, that could be good. No matter what you say, it happened in the film. Red carpet things, you were right. And so we give them all these different choices, and they can it basically lets the player write the film as they're answering the questions. But the challenge is it does have to stay internally consistent.
Exactly. And anywhere where, you know, they said that the Queen died early, and then the Queen survived through to the end. You know, it's sort of like, it's not internally consistent, but
yeah. But you do get one like Deus Ex Machina, where if you make an inconsistent thing by the end, you can, like, play that, and it's like, yeah, but they only pretend they fake their death at the beginning, and
or that was in an earlier cut.
Yeah, or you can just, like,
that was in the original script. They changed it.
Oh no, that was in the book that the movie was based on. Sorry, I forgot.
That's the novelization. Sorry.
Yeah. That's really fun. I think that could be cool. And then, yeah, the after party, you're getting all these discussions about it, which show, yeah, you were exactly right somehow. But you're having to hide then that you're not this actor, and maybe you're, like, making all these situations for this actor where you're, like, making meetings with people and stuff, because they want you in their next film and this sort of thing.
And you agree with the producers to be in the sequel?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the final scene of the whole game is just, it's like, over the credits, there's this rambling phone call from the actual celebrity, just going, like, being,
what the hell did you...
What the fuck? You signed me up for this piece of shit sequel, and you told, you know, the super hot pop star that I was married, you know, to 3 different women, and I don't know, whatever. And that's really funny, actually. I think that could be.
Then you don't get your $5.
The $5 that you're supposed to get paid, yeah. You owe me $5, slam. Phone hangs up. That's a really fun idea. All right, well, I think we will leave it on that note. So if you want to find us online, we are at podchaser.com/bitstorm. Go there, find all of our previous episodes and our creator profiles, where you can see our appearances on other shows like those, Segway of the 8-Bit Network, which are also part of the 8-Bit Collective. This is a network of podcasts around gaming, pop culture, role-playing, a variety of different things. There's a ton of great shows on the network. So go check them out, and also go check out the 8-Bit Patreon, where you can sling a few dollars to the different podcasts on the network.
Do you like gaming? Do you like podcasts? Do you like Australia? If you've said yes to 2 of those, then you may enjoy the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just search for Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook, or at AGP Network on Twitter. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuridos for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott. And we hail to you, O generous huntsman.